Hi, I'm Rich with Inside HPC, and we're here in Boulder, Colorado at the Spectra Summit. I'm here with Moly Rector, who is the CMO of the company. So Molly, well, thanks for having me here this week, by the way.
You bet. Good to have you here.
Well, thanks. It was very exciting because you guys rolled out a new vision for the company on a technology that I think has some interesting aspects for HPC. Can you tell us more about the deep storage? What is that?
Sure. So part of the vision of what we launched this week was a new tier for storage, which we call the deep storage tier. And what that is taking advantage of economical storage. For us, that's tape libraries that are extremely power efficient, extremely scalable, lowest cost per gigabyte storage available on the market, but adding a new modern interface to those systems to make it so that new applications, web-based applications, can access that storage. Where in the past, storage, especially tape storage, has been limited to block file level access. And there's all this data out there that's being managed off of web applications that now can use tape as well with deep storage.
Now, I remember you guys talking this week about how the folks who know how to program that stuff are kind of getting gray. There's not really a new generation coming up. Is this new interface, is that going to help with that problem and give more access to what you guys sell, which is big tape?
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the things that myself and the other tape vendors talk about when we talk about things over beers, is that the folks who know how to write to tape libraries and manage them in large part are starting to retire, and the kids coming out of college want to do everything on the web. So to keep the most cost-effective storage tier relevant, we had to get it web enabled.
Okay, so what's in here for HPC? I heard mentions of certain verticals like bioinformatics and oil and gas might be the folks with tape today that they might add this on. How would that work?
Sure. So what we see in HPC right now is there's a lot of use in tape and file-based archive, particularly in the really big sites, as you know. And there's a different type of workflow in those environments as well, that in genome, for example, that once a genome is modeled and they've finished working on that, they want to save all that information, but there's no reason to keep it up in the primary store, and there's really no reason to access it file by file because you just archive off that entire batch of data. So great example, and we have several genome customers we've talked to about this. They're talking about using their traditional file workflow while working with the data, but then when they're finished with it, they can push it off to deep storage in mass in a really cost-effective and simple way.
Well, this is the part of the story I loved, because the fellow talking about it said, look, the scientist doesn't need to know anything about storage protocols and such. He can focus on his science, and this is just a natural way for them to work. So is it that easy, or is it?
It really is, and that's one of the things that makes deep storage so attractive to a research environment, for example, that the user can directly access and the user can directly archive his data by just dragging and dropping it to a URL effectively. So IT staff and a lot of people don't have to be involved to manage his workflow and his archive. When he decides he wants to push this data off, it really is like putting something up into Dropbox.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good analogy, because that's what came to mind is Dropbox, the ease of it and what it opened up for people. So I guess, being HPC folks here, I have to get geeked out kind of on this Black Pearl, which is this SSD device that you put between the storage library and the interface. And can you tell us about that?
Sure. So the interface that we're using to the deep storage is called DS3, and that's based on S3 from Amazon. And we added some additional commands to the system to be able to take advantage of deep storage, being linear, sequential access tape media that can also be ejected. But the interface is interesting, and that's what enables the web connection. In Black Pearl, though, is where a lot of the magic is, that as people start to stream data, a scientist doesn't have to think about how do I stream my tape library to fast enough to take advantage of the speed of tape, and how do I use my capacity on my media. That's what Black Pearl does. It has SSD caching to receive the data to make sure it is optimizing the usage of the tape system. That's where things like data security can be built in, media health, data integrity checking. And one of the things HPC worries a lot about, especially the folks who know about archive and HPC, is how are they going to handle media migration in the future. That every conference I go to, it's, wow, 10 years from now I'm going to have to migrate this content. How am I going to do that? And Black Pearl will do that for them as well.